Hello folks, hey, this is CERT Instructor Ron. I want to get started. I want to talk to you a little bit about some extra communications that you can have on board and how to use it. But before we get started, do me a favor. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Now, during some events, whether it's tornadoes, floods, or whatever, your cell phone is going to really have some difficulty in working. So we've talked kind of about this before, and I've talked about ham radio. So ham radio is your first best option when everything else fails. Beyond that, if your cell phone's not working, you might try sending a text, keep it short. That might work. It's only I've found to work in a disaster was a short text when the phone didn't want to work right. So beyond that, this is something I'd like to talk about is just some of these family radios. And there's different ones out there. You can see there's different sizes. I've owned some for years. We've used them for a lot of different things. Training, for example, with CERT sometimes. And we're going to be in close proximity and other things. Even hunting sometimes. Now, here's the issue that you get into with these radios is that, well, they don't have great distance. They're only designed for short range. That's the only problem. However, the reason I would advise you to get some is simply for this. One, if your family becomes separated, let's say you're in your vehicle or your vehicle's nearby and that's where the radio is, if everybody's tuned to the same channel and we'll say you're within a mile or two of where your meeting place is, you might be able to make communication. Now, depending upon the terrain and conditions, with that family member or friends or whoever you're going to meet with to get to that safe location. Now, is that always going to work? Well, most of the time it'll work if you're, again, within range. The flatter the terrain, less things in the way, the better it's going to work. So I always kept one of these in my glove box. In fact, I still keep one inside my vehicle, along with, one of those radios up there. I have several different ones. But the idea is that when everything else fails, you're going to be able to most likely communicate. So if you can't get to that safe spot, then maybe you can communicate where you're going down the road. If you're traveling together, at least you're going to be able to communicate. So the reason you want to get these family radios, again, it's just a backup. If you're not able to get your ham radio, like I've got over here on the wall, and use it, and let's say you're not a licensed ham yet. So this is an option, but trust me, once you use these after a while, you'll kind of like them, but you'll find once you become a ham radio operator that you're going to get much better communication, a lot further distance, a lot better clarity. And that's because you're going to be going through a repeater a lot of times. And not only that, you've got more power, better antennas. So I'm going to give you a few tips on using these things. First of all, there's different radios out here. This is my preferred one. They make a lot of different ones with a lot of different features. Any of them that I would buy, I would make sure that it does have the NOAA stations on it so you can hear the weather. The other thing I'd want to make sure is that it has a lock. Most of them you can lock them so that if you're driving down the road and using it, that you don't change channels and get distracted so that it stays on a channel. Make sure that maybe you do something like on the back of the radio, write down what channel, so just in case you forget what channel, you remember, hey, everybody's going to use channel 6. So I would write that on the radio somewhere, or if you're going to keep it in a bag in a glove box, a note, something. The other thing that I would do is I wouldn't leave the batteries in this. And the reason being is, well, they'll corrode, and when you need the radio, it's not going to work. So definitely take the batteries out and store them away from the radio. You can store them with the radio, perhaps in a plastic bag or something, and put them in there when you need them. Change those out yearly at minimum. Make sure they work. I would do some testing with these radios if I were going to use them with my family. I'd want to see how far I can get out. When you go to use this radio, it's not going to work very well in your car. Your car is almost a Faraday cage in some respects. So it's not going to totally block all of your signal, but it's definitely going to damper it on something like this. So you're lucky if you can talk, well, an eighth of a mile in between cars. I'm not going to say that's absolute fact, but it's going to greatly diminish it. So it's one of the things you learn as a ham radio operator. Get outside your vehicle with these antennas. It's just not made to work inside of a car. So you're going to get much better transmission outside of your vehicle. So be prepared to do that. So you might stop, find some places along the way that you know you can definitely make contact with other people. So that's some of the advice I'm going to give you. Again, talk to your friends and neighbors about using something like this in an emergency in your neighborhood because nothing else may work. And that's my tip of the day. And I wanted to share that with you. If you get these radios, again, you can buy them at Walmart. You might be able to buy them online, but definitely make sure you get the features that you're going to have to know a radio on there as well so that you know what's happening. So with that said, I just want to thank you. Again, please like and subscribe, and I'll continue to bring you more videos.